It's time to get a move on, and here are the headlines tonight. Romulus rumbled, last Western Roman emperor loses the keys. Faubus on the loose, Arkansas governor gets naughty with National Guard. And Dragon's Breath, Chinatown gangs run amok, cops get Cantonese. Plus, coming up, we expose the secret life of moths and discover why they've been hiding in our socks. Those are the headlines. Flap off into the night.
Ya News Bang, shooting arrows of accuracy into the target of truth. Le de Sicile, 476.
The Western Roman Empire has fallen faster than a drunken gladiator in a lion pit. Reports suggest that a motley crew of hairy barbarians, including the Visigoths, Vandals, and Ostrogoths, have been running amok through Roman territories like kids in a candy store.
Eyewitness Doc Cox told our reporters, "One minute I was enjoying a relaxing orgy. The next thing I knew, there were Goths everywhere, and not the kind that wear too much eyeliner."
The collapse has sent shockwaves through the Mediterranean, with local economies crumbling faster than a stale biscuit. Trade routes have been disrupted, leaving merchants scratching their heads and wondering if they should have invested in Germanic phrase books instead of Latin ones.
Meanwhile, Emperor Romulus Augustulus was last seen fleeing Rome on a donkey, shouting, "So long, suckers!" as he made his way towards retirement in Ravenna.
Experts warn that this could mark the beginning of the so-called Dark Ages, a period when people forget how to read, bathe, or have fun without the constant threat of plague.
1957.
The state of Arkansas has declared war on education, deploying an entire army to prevent 9 students from attending school. Governor Orville Faubus, in a fit of mathematical genius, decided that 9 was simply too many black students for one white school to handle.
Eyewitnesses report that the National Guard arrived armed with protractors and compasses, ready to draw a line in the sand. Local resident Cletus Moonshine exclaimed, "I ain't never seen so many uniforms since my cousin Jethro's wedding at the military surplus store."
The Little Rock Nine, as they're now known, faced a gauntlet of angry mobs, vicious threats, and the worst school lunch menu in history. But they persevered, armed only with textbooks and an overwhelming desire to learn algebra.
President Eisenhower, upon hearing the news, reportedly spat out his morning coffee and declared, "By golly, I didn't win a world war just to lose a schoolyard brawl." He then sent in federal troops, turning Little Rock into the world's most heavily guarded study hall.
The crisis has galvanized the nation, with millions now debating whether separate water fountains are really necessary for long division.
1977.
The Golden Dragon restaurant in San Francisco's Chinatown has been revealed as the site of a brutal massacre of fortune cookies. Eyewitnesses report seeing gang members armed with chopsticks and soy sauce bottles engaged in a fierce battle over who would get the last crispy duck.
The police have established a special dim sum task force to investigate the incident, led by Detective Sum Ting Wong. He stated, "We're leaving no stone unturned. We've even interrogated the fish in the restaurant's tank."
In response to the tragedy, the mayor has proposed a citywide ban on MSG, claiming it makes people too spicy for their own good.
Meanwhile, survivors are still grappling with the trauma. One victim, who wishes to remain anonymous, said, "I can't look at a menu without breaking into a cold sweat. I've been reduced to eating hamburgers. It's a culinary nightmare."
News Bang, a shot of reality in the arm of the people.
Here's our meteorological maverick, Shakanaka Giles, with his unique take on the atmospheric conditions across the nation.
Right, let's get to it then. Down south, we're looking at a proper autumnal affair. Expect a brisk chill, like your grand's icy stare when you forget to take out the bins. Up north, the weather's feeling a bit under the weather, much like England's football team after their latest defeat. Showers on and off, so best have your brolly at the ready, lest you end up looking like a drowned rat. Over in the Midlands, It's a mixed bag, a bit like the contents of your nan's knicker drawer. Sunny spells interspersed with ominous cloud cover, the kind that makes you want to cancel your plans and stay in with a cuppa. And in Wales, well, the weather's about as reliable as a politician's promise. Bit of everything, really. Wind, rain, the occasional burst of sun. Typical Welsh weather. In other words, quite fitting given the Rugby World Cup's just kicked off. In summary then, chilly down south, soggy up north, and a general sense of uncertainty across the board, just like the state of the nation really. And that's all the weather.
Le de Sicile, 476.
The Western Roman Empire has fallen, plunging the Mediterranean into chaos. Germanic tribes have overrun our borders, the economy is in shambles, and civic values are crumbling faster than a stale Roman biscuit. The once mighty empire now lies in ruins, leaving a power vacuum that's being filled by upstarts like the Byzantine Empire and various barbarian kingdoms. It's a dark day for civilization as we know it. For more on this earth-shattering development, we go now to our correspondent Brian Bastable, who's standing amidst the rubble of what was once the glorious city of Rome. Brian, what's the mood on the ground?
Martin, it's worse than a toga party at Caligula's palace after the wine runs dry. Ravenna's burning, Romulus Augustus is out on his ear, and the Visigoths are using the Colosseum as a giant barbecue pit. The stench of burning legionary and cheap incense is enough to make a Vestal virgin vomit. I just saw a senator trying to bribe a Hun with a denarius and a half-eaten fig. The Hun, unimpressed, used the senator's toga as a napkin. The streets are slick with blood and olive oil. I nearly lost my sandals twice. It's like trying to navigate a butcher shop after a particularly messy break-in. The empire's gone to the dogs, Martin, literally. Packs of feral hounds are roaming the streets, feasting on the fallen, and I swear I just saw a pack of wolves wearing togas. Civilization, as we know it, is going down the drain faster than a gladiator after a thumbs down. The future's looking about as bright as a blind gladiator's helmet, Martin. Who knows what these barbarian hordes will do next? One thing's for sure, it won't involve indoor plumbing or decent sanitation. This is Brian Bastable, signing off from a city that's rapidly going from eternal city to eternal cesspit. Stop.
1977.
And now, a grim anniversary from 1977. On this day, San Francisco's Chinatown was rocked by the Golden Dragon Massacre, a brutal gang-related attack that left 5 dead and 11 wounded. The incident, stemming from long-standing tensions between rival gangs, sent shockwaves through the community and led to the creation of an Asian gang task force. But the repercussions extended far beyond law enforcement, perpetuating harmful stereotypes and leaving survivors traumatized for decades. For more on this dark chapter in San Francisco's history, we turn to our crime correspondent, Ken Schitt.
Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your fortune cookies because I'm about to serve you a steaming hot plate of carnage from the streets of San Francisco's Chinatown, circa 1977. Picture this, the Golden Dragon restaurant, a place where you'd expect to find crispy duck and dim sum. Instead, it became a goddamn shooting gallery. 5 innocent diners sent to meet their ancestors, 11 more left, bleeding, like stuck pigs. All because some pissant gangsters couldn't keep their trigger fingers in their pants. The Joe Boys and Wah Ching, 2 gangs of snot-nosed punks, decided to turn Chinatown into their personal OK Corral. These keyboard warriors with guns thought they were playing Grand Theft Auto, but this was real life, and real people paid the price. The cops finally pulled their heads out of their donut-filled asses and set up an Asian gang task force. About fucking time, boys in blue. It's like putting a band-aid on a machete wound, but hey, it's something. But let's not kid ourselves, folks. This massacre left Chinatown as shaken as a martini in James Bond's hands. The sanctity of this vibrant community was violated, leaving scars deeper than the San Andreas Fault. So next time you're slurping your one-ton soup, remember the Golden Dragon. Remember that peace is as fragile as a fortune cookie, and violence is a dish best never served at all. This is Ken Shit, reminding you that the only thing we should be massacring is ignorance and hate. Good night, and may your fortunes be less fucked up than this story.
1957.
The state of Arkansas has decided to enforce racial segregation with military might. Governor Orville Faubus, in a move that can only be described as spectacularly backwards, has deployed the National Guard to prevent 9 African American students from attending Little Rock Central High School. This brazen defiance of the Supreme Court's ruling on desegregation has sparked outrage and disbelief across the nation. One can only wonder if the governor's next move will be to reinstate the horse and buggy as the state's primary mode of transportation. For more on this developing story, we go to our American correspondent Melody Wintergreen.
Little Rock, Arkansas, and the battle lines have been drawn. The year is 1957, and the struggle for civil rights is reaching a boiling point. As the nation watches with bated breath, Governor Orville Faubus has deployed the Arkansas National Guard to prevent 9 brave African American students from entering the hallowed halls of Little Rock Central High School. This is Melody Wintergreen, reporting live from the front lines of this epic clash. The scene outside the school is nothing short of pandemonium. Angry white mobs, frothing at the mouth, hurl slurs and threats at the courageous students known as the Little Rock Nine. These young trailblazers, Minnie, Elizabeth, Ernest, Thelma, Melba, Gloria, Terrence, Jefferson, and Carlotta, stand firm in the face of this hateful onslaught, their resolute expressions betraying not a hint of fear. Governor Faubus, a veritable segregationist Svengali, has conjured up this constitutional crisis, claiming the need to preserve the peace. But make no mistake, his true intent is to deny these students their hard-won right to an equal education, a right enshrined in the Supreme Court's landmark Brown v. Board of Education decision. The nation watches with a mix of outrage and anticipation as the standoff between the students and the National Guard reaches a fever pitch. Will the federal government finally step in to enforce the law and protect these brave young pioneers? Or will the forces of hatred and intolerance prevail, casting a dark shadow over the promise of the American dream? The eyes of the world are upon Little Rock, Arkansas, as the battle for the soul of a nation rages on. This is Melody Wintergreen reporting for Newsbang, where the fight for civil rights has never been more dramatic or decisive.
A news bang, irrefutable, indomitable, and irrefutably intelligent.
And now, for a special report on royal weddings and cultural clashes, we turn to our resident expert on all things regal and ridiculous, Sandy O'Shaughnessy. Sandy, what peculiar piece of history have you unearthed for us tonight?
Nice and easy.
And a very good evening to you, my dear listeners. This is Sandy O'Shaughnessy, coming to you live from the cozy confines of Newsbang Towers. As the clock strikes 9 and the evening settles in like a comfortable old cardigan, we find ourselves once again delving into the annals of history. Now picture this. It's 1843 and we're in Rio de Janeiro. The air is thick with excitement, and not just because of the local carnival season. No. We're talking about a right royal knees-up, the wedding of Teresa Cristina, of the Two Sicilies, and Emperor Pedro II of Brazil. Two Sicilies, you say? Sounds like a pizza order gone wrong, doesn't it? But I assure you, it was a real place, as real as the hair on your Uncle Seamus's back. Now, this wasn't just any old wedding. Oh no, This was a state affair, dripping with more pomp and circumstance than a peacock at a fashion show. The Cathedral of Rio de Janeiro was decked out like a Christmas tree in July, all to impress the Europeans and show that Brazil wasn't just a backwater with good coffee and better football. Poor Teresa Cristina, though. Imagine being whisked away from your cozy Sicilian home, both of them, to the wilds of Brazil. It's like moving from Ballybricken to Timbuktu, only with more samba and less sheep. But our Teresa, bless her heart, she adapted like a chameleon in a paint factory. Before long, she was winning hearts faster than you can say carnival costume malfunction. Speaking of malfunctions, I received a letter from Bridie O'Malley in Connemara. She writes, "Dear Sandy, my husband started speaking in Portuguese since we got our new parrot. Should I be worried?" Well, Bridie, unless your husband's name is Pedro and he's secretly the Emperor of Brazil, I'd say it's just a phase. Though do keep an eye out for any imperial decrees about the back garden. You know, all this talk of royal weddings and exotic locales reminds me of the time I tried to organize a state dinner in my flat. Let's just say the Queen of Sheba, my cat, was not impressed with the tuna canapes, and the Duke of Earl, the neighbor's dog, made off with the roast chicken. But that's the beauty of history, isn't it? Whether you're an emperor in Brazil or a radio host in Ireland, we're all just trying to muddle through, preferably with a good cup of tea and a biscuit or two. And on that note, my dear listeners, it's time for me to hang up my imaginary crown and bid you adieu. Remember, whether you're royalty or just royal pain, you're always welcome here on the airwaves. Until next time, this is Sandy O'Shaughnessy saying, "See you later, alligator. In a while, crocodile. Good night, and may your dreams be filled with samba and Sicilian pizza."
All over the country for everyone.
1934.
Today, in 1934, Evelyn Waugh's novel A Handful of Dust hit the shelves, causing more upper-class squirming than a corset 2 sizes too small. This literary bombshell exposed the crumbling facade of Britain's elite, serving up a delicious dish of marital discord, spiritual emptiness, and enough satire to choke a polo pony. For more on this earth-shattering event in the world of dusty tomes and tweed jackets, we go to our culture correspondent, Smithsonia Moss.
Now, at this point of the evening, we welcome listeners on FM who've just joined us.
Whoa bitches, it's your girl Smithsonia Moss, and welcome to the Culture Report. Today we're talking about some old dead dude named Evelyn Waugh and his super depressing novel, A Handful of Dust. I mean, I know what you're thinking. Smithsonia? Why are we talking about some boring old book? Well, let me tell you, this book is like the OG of angst, the granddaddy of existential crises. It's like, the more things change, the more they stay the same, and people are still just as messed up as they were back in the 1930s. So, A Handful of Dust is about this guy, Tony Last, and his wife, Brenda, who's basically a hoe. I mean, she's got a bunch of dudes on the side, and Tony's just trying to hold on to his marriage and his dignity. But it's not just about them. It's about the whole decay of the English upper class and the disintegration of traditional social structures. Yeah, it's like super deep. Waugh's got some major shade for the upper class, and he's not afraid to throw it. He's like, hey, you guys are a bunch of superficial, morally bankrupt assholes who can't adapt to change. And honestly, it's kind of hard to argue with that. I mean, have you seen the Kardashians? They're like the embodiment of everything Waugh hated about the upper class. But what's really interesting about A Handful of Dust is its influence on modern literature. It's like a precursor to all the angsty existential novels that came after it. And Waugh's writing style is like super innovative. He's got this fragmented, non-linear structure that's like totally ahead of its time. Anyway, that's A Handful of Dust in a nutshell. It's like a super depressing, but also kind of profound novel that's still relevant today. So, if you're feeling down and want to wallow in some existential angst, then this is the book for you. But if you're looking for something a little more uplifting, then maybe try something else. Like, I don't know, a rom-com or something. Oh, and one more thing. Waugh was a total Catholic convert, and it shows in his writing. He's like super into the whole life is meaningless without God thing, and it's like, okay, dude, we get it. But hey, at least he's consistent. That's it for today's Culture Report. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
News bang. The only bong in town that knows what the truth is smoking.
And finally, let's take a look at tomorrow's papers. The Times, Russo-Japanese War, ends with a flourish in Maine. There's a picture there of a pen. The Telegraph, Voyager 1, blasts off into the unknown. That's accompanied by a large diagram of the solar system. The Independent lead with Sam Houston is the man in Texas. There's a photo there of a cowboy hat. The Mail go with bird spotted on rock. That's on page 1, along with a picture of a bird on a rock. And the Express have garden shed prices to soar. That's a special investigation. That's it. Due to circumstances, the Director General has resigned. Again. Good night, and that's a wrap.
Tune in next time for more artificially intelligent hilarity. Newsbang is a comedy show, written and recorded by AI. All voices impersonated. Nothing here is real. Good night.